Where did you come up with the idea that you want to be paired with Santino?
Okay, so I kind of had my run as the Glamazon, the big dragon to be slayed, and then the dragon was slayed. I was beaten, and after the dragon gets beat the first time, you got to reinvent a little bit. I found myself like in catering a lot, and I found myself not really being used on television. I was like, oh my God, they're moving on from me. I'm done. My character's done. What now? And so my thought was like, okay, what have I not done? And I was like, I haven't been paired. I could be a valet or a manager, but that kind of doesn't make sense for this like big, tough character I've created. And Santino was just on the cusp of kind of finding some comedic beats. He was no longer, the Boris Alexiev tough guy. He was kind of, doing the unibrow and like, finding some comedic beats. And I'm like, I had seen the Eddie Murphy movie Norbit. It's an old one. It's vintage, but the whole premise is this, big mean girlfriend and this kind of like wimpy, like almost like abused boyfriend. And so I wrote up a 1-page pitch and I walked into Vince's office and I said, Vince, I have this idea. I didn't even tell Santino. So I was just kind of hoping and praying that he'd be okay with it. And I handed him the paper and I said, Vince, if you could just take a look at this. I made sure it was concise. And the next week, Vince came up and found me. He goes, we're going with your idea and it starts tonight. And I was like, oh my God. Like first I was like, it was that easy. It wasn't that easy. It was a lot of stars aligning. But I found a place on the show that was independent of what was going on with the women's title, because really that was the only spot for the girls to be on every week, or a valet. And if I wasn't the contender and I wasn't the champ, what could I be doing? And so Santino and I kind of started building this little alliance and relationship, and it ended up going off the rails.
It was magic.
It was super special. I think like I was very good at being the straight man, and he was very good at just doing everything he could in his power to make me crack. And other than like my wonderful time I got to spend with Natty as my tag partner and, the Royal Rumbles, and my time with Santino was by far my favorite memories from WWE.
How often did he get you to break character?
Oh my God, it's terrible. The worst. So like it was terrible. But the worst was when he was trying to do Melina's entrance on the apron. And he would not tell me any of the stuff that he'd be saying or yelling. Like he'd make sure he kept that close to the vest to just try to make me laugh. And he tries to do the split and then he falls off and takes this huge bump. And he's got his feet in the air and they're like shaking like he's being electrocuted. And I'm going to him like I'm consoling him. And he goes, my meatballs. And he's just yelling about his meatballs. And I'm like, you can just see me like cover my face like this. I'm like, oh my God. And that's how it was every week. And we had so much fun. And the audience absolutely had fun with us. Like they just loved that dynamic of me trying to be the spoiler, the ruiner, and him always trying to push boundaries. He was like a naughty kid.
Even after your characters broke up, it was still fun. It was still entertaining because he's still so in love with you.
Oh, he was funny. We just, like I said, we went off the rails quite a bit with that story, but we had such a good rapport backstage too. He's just a wonderful person. We've always gotten along, and he was somebody that came up and worked his butt off, and very similarly to me. Kind of somebody that was, we don't know if you have fit the right mold. And he just busted through that ceiling. And no matter what roadblock was put in front of him, he found a way around it and became such a memorable character.
I feel like he deserves a spot in the WWE Hall of Fame.
Oh, 100%. And I will be front row.